Welcome to the Benefits of Knowledge podcast with Lorne Curry of Curry Financial Group Limited. In this podcast, we are focused on helping businesses set up and manage their group benefit plan to protect and assist their most valuable assets. Join us on this journey where Lorne explores ways to help you develop effective and cost-efficient strategies for your business. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to the Benefits of Knowledge with Lorne Curry. Lorne, how are you today?
Eric, it couldn't be any better. Things are so exciting here at home. I've got some great news today.
And I'm going to just be honest with the audience. He shared it with me earlier, but Lorne, you got to tell him. I'm so excited for you.
Okay, so for those people that do know or listen to, I guess, our first podcast where we introduced myself, we have had 5 boys born into the family. I've got 2 sons, Joseph and Brendan. I then have 3 grandsons, which would be Lewis, Harry, and Hugh. And on June the 21st, we, for the first time, heard it's a girl. Woo-hoo! We have a granddaughter, Jenna Elizabeth. She was born on June 21st. So my wife and I are pretty excited.
Yeah, just a little bit. I would say the word would be giddy. When we were talking about it earlier, I can tell that you're going to spoil that little girl, and that is fantastic.
Yeah, if it's possible to spoil them any more than the boys already are, but I'm sure my wife will work on that.
Oh, you'll see. You'll see. Absolutely. Oh, that's such good news. That is fantastic. Yeah, so I know there's a lot of excitement around there, and I'm excited about today's podcast because I'm learning something completely new. You sent me a few notes, but you're talking about total compensation statement, and I've never heard that term before. So what is that?
Okay, well, first thing I want to do is I just want to send a thank you out to our friends at BBD and Mike McClanahan for today's topic because I've heard of these. I'll be honest, we haven't done them yet, but I've obviously done some research, and BBD did a blog on total compensation statements, and I just felt that this is something that would be great information for us to share with our listeners. All
right. So great resource, and we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the podcast here. But where do we start today with this topic?
Well, with group benefits, we're always, you're looking to attract and retain top talent in your organization. If you want to try and boost employment engagement, increase job satisfaction, then if you show people or you have that total compensation package, that's what this stuff's used for, right? We have good employees. We want to reward them. And you know what? It just comes back to the employer in spades. If people are happy and you show them that you appreciate. Now, the biggest thing is, we may be giving lots of things to our employees, but if we don't communicate that offering effectively, then they may not even realize all the wonderful things that you are providing. So that's where the total compensation statement comes in.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. So what is on the total compensation statement?
Well, basically anything that can be perceived as a value offered to an employee. If it's a value, then that's what it's for. You communicate that with them. So the first thing we obviously think of is salary, wages, that type of thing, as our remuneration. But there's also all the other plans, whether it's group plans, programs, opportunities that are available to an employee through their employment with you. We have other things like RRSP matching. People get vacation pay. Do they realize that? I'm sure they know they get vacation, but obviously the employer's still paying it. Is there sick days? Any other perks? Do you give people flexible work schedules? Right now with COVID, are you giving them the ability to work from home? So there's all kinds of things that can be there.
Got it. All right. Yeah, that makes it. Parking spots, right?
Yeah.
Free lunches, things like that. Maybe. I don't know. It sounds like it covers a wide swath of things that you could possibly provide. And again, like you said, it really just makes your business more attractive to someone seeking employment.
Exactly. Or retaining them when they realize all the things they get.
Yeah, absolutely. All right.
Okay, so So I guess maybe one of your question that maybe I didn't hit there was what is the total compensation statement? So we talked about total compensation, but the statement is actually providing a reminder of the full value that the employer is providing, and it gives the employees essential information about their overall compensation. Like I said, they may receive things that they don't even realize the employer is paying for. So that creates awareness of the total value of their compensation beyond the salary, which is what everybody thinks of. It can highlight just all the core offerings of what the employer's providing.
Got it. Now, it sounds like, there could be a vast number of things. Obviously, an employer can't provide so many things that it bankrupts the company. I mean, we're not talking about free flights to Jamaica, things like that, which would be fantastic, by the way, Lorne, if that's something that we could offer. I've never seen that in a company, but any company out there that wants to offer me free flights to Jamaica, we can reach out. Never mind. Kidding. Let's stay on task here. So you talked about mentorship. You talked about some sick time. I mean, most they provide sick leave, but also maybe some additional flex days. I've heard that statement before. I jokingly said, free parking spot or certain parking spots, but I know that certain companies have those, based on management level, things like that. What other things can a company offer to attract or to to keep employees? And then I guess piggybacking on that, how often should you be reminding your employees, or how often are you publishing one of these statements?
Well, we'll start with that. I would say at least annually. I guess you could do it as much as quarterly if you wanted, but it depends on how much time and effort you want to spend on this or what's necessary. But I would think personally annually would be fine. So we talked about pay. Everybody says, well, what do you get paid? Well, I know there's certain companies out there that the pay is also variable. They may have shift bonuses, as an example. If you work nights, you're going to get paid more. There could be just an annual bonus. Lots of employers out there, they call it a Christmas bonus or whatever, but that's still part of their remuneration. Could be production bonuses, could be for a good safety record. There's all kinds of reasons that there would be a variable pay. So let people know that this this is your base salary or your dollars per hour, however you want, but here's other ways that you also can receive more or additional money. Obviously, we talk a lot about the employee benefit plans here because that's what we talk about, group plans, right? Do employees understand if you have that healthcare spending account, which we've spent a couple of different podcasts talking about, if you have that, do the employees realize that the amount they're receiving in there is tax-free money that is, again, part of their remuneration? We just talked about wellness accounts 1 or 2 podcasts ago as well.
That's right.
So you got your gym member. We even heard that there's people out there that are paying for pet insurance for employees. And apparently, for certain employees, that's very, very important. So anything like that.
Yeah, as a dog owner myself, I would love a company to think about, obviously they think about the family, but also to say, we offer some pet insurance. That would be something I wouldn't even think about, as an employee. But to hear my employer care about, my pet, that's kind of cool. I like that. And as you were talking, I was thinking, way back in the late 90s, early 2000, I worked in downtown Seattle, and I had a chance to do some work with Microsoft as well. I remember going in there, and I was just blown away by the full spread of breakfast that they had every day for their employees. And they had vending machines and snack machines that didn't cost any money. And as a 20-year-old, I was like, oh boy, this is amazing,
so.
But that was something that, everybody was so relaxed. And it was, if you want a snack, just go grab one. It's not, you're not micromanaged, people, it was a very free workflow. And I think job satisfaction was huge at that time. I don't know what it is now. Don't get me wrong, but the early 2000s were huge for the tech industry. But I just remember being blown away by all the things that they did for their employees. And that's right in line with what you're talking about.
Oh, exactly. I mean, that'd look pretty impressive, on a compensation statement, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Free breakfast every morning. Yeah. I'd be quite interested in going to work there myself.
Yeah, right.
Save me some time in the morning.
Absolutely.
Okay, Eric. So we've talked about a bunch of these things. I actually had a list made here, so we've touched on a bunch of them. But just quickly to go over a couple that we haven't talked about, just to give our listeners, some ideas of other things they can put on there. So professional development opportunities, such as whether it's computer courses or new licenses, that type of thing. Joan here.
Yes, she is fantastic.
Yep, she sure is. So Joan got her license, mutual fund license. So, that was something that I covered for her. I just wanted her to, have the education and stuff like that. Now she works 100% on the group benefit side, so it's a bit different, but that was in the early years. But it's an idea. We all get vacation, and, the government, it's mandated that we get that time, but it's still there. Sick leave. One I really like was as paid volunteer hours. I'm understanding there are companies that will actually continue to pay employees. Maybe they go and help, Habitat for Humanity, so building houses, but they will allow them to go and spend so many hours there and still pay their wages. So that's great.
Man, that's fantastic.
It really is. So these are, just some other ideas beyond the ones that we already talked about.
Lorne, you've covered a ton so far in this podcast. I know that you've covered a lot of the things that can be on the total compensation statement, and you've also, spoken about the time frame of when an employer should be, giving these out. Minimum, it sounds to me like it's annually, maybe even, every 6 months or even quarterly from what you said. But I know that you have 4 specific things or 4 specific reasons that an employer should provide a compensation package, and I want to make sure that the audience hears that very specifically. Can you cover those 4?
I sure can, Eric. So the first thing, again, we've mentioned it, create awareness. The more you talk about your compensation package, the more people know about what's included in it and what's offered by yourself, the employer. And which is kind of the point, right? This is why we have the statements. Number 2 would be increase usage. So we want to regularly remind employees about the key aspects of their total compensation. And that will probably increase the usage of the different pieces they have. For example, a quarterly update on their vacation usage would incentivize employees to take their vacation. I'm a big believer in vacation, and I think you really should take that time off. I think we all need it to recharge our batteries, and we're actually better at our jobs once we take that time off. Okay?
Absolutely.
So incentivizing them to take the vacation is good for them, and it's good for your business, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think that really shows employer supporting the employees. I've worked for a couple companies where it was almost frowned upon to take vacation because that would put everybody else, in a bind, or it would, it could disrupt the business, so on and so forth. And it was just a bad feeling, right? You didn't feel good about taking vacation. And if you have an employer that's, pretty consistently saying, hey, look, you've got some vacation time, you should take it and recharge those batteries. That's a great feeling. Yeah.
And I think it's very important for the employee. We all need to recharge those batteries.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Absolutely.
And then number 3 would be increased job satisfaction. Okay. So employees who feel valued, just like we were just talking about, and understand the full scope of their compensation have higher job satisfaction, and they're going to be much more engaged as employees. So if the employee's happy, they're engaged in their job, that's going to translate into better performing employees, increased productivity, creativity, better customer service, and the list goes on and on. So everything positive of having job satisfaction.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then we always talk about attract and retain top talent. So the total compensation can also serve as a strong retention tool. If employees are reminded of how good they have it, where they are, they may think twice about leaving. Somebody may offer them more money, but when they understand all the other stuff they receive, then it's not going to be as attractive just for the salary itself. So, having a strong employee value proposition that includes a competitive total compensation package is going to attract and retain that talent to your business.
Yeah, absolutely. So let me ask you this, totally off the cuff here. As I think about this, when you're trying to retain an employee, it can be hard or difficult for employees to understand the value of what you're offering in this total compensation package. Do you suggest maybe the employer put a price, to the things that they're offering, a ballpark figure, whatever you want to call it? So if they offer 5 flex days, so in addition to your vacation days, you got 5 flex days that you get paid time off. And you can kind of put a monetary value to that. You talked about volunteer hours. If you're volunteering for your favorite charity, you're still going to get paid. You can do that 4 times per year or whatever it is. And putting a monetary value to that. Pet insurance, you mentioned that. A monetary value to that. Is it wise to do that so that if somebody's saying, oh, I'm going to get paid $1 more an hour over here or $5,000 more a year in salary over here, they can then look at this package and say, well, I've actually got about $12,000 worth of value in this compensation package that I have here, and they don't offer that at the other place.
Absolutely. If you can put a value on it, then that's part of the idea. But you can't put value on everything.
Yeah.
Right. Some things you can't put a price on them. Parking, I guess, if you're in a downtown spot, you could figure that out. I know when I was looking for an office, it was important that I had free parking. Now, I'm not paying extra for it where we are here, but I wanted to make sure that the employees didn't have to pay for somewhere else. So I couldn't put a price on that.
Got it.
But if there's a way, yes, definitely you could.
Yeah. Well, and here's the flip side of the entire conversation, flip side of the coin. Is there any negative consequences? Could there be any negative consequences from providing this statement? I mean, I can't imagine, but you're the pro, so I got to ask.
Okay. So yes, the answer is yes. There certainly could be negative consequences. So you have to be very careful when you're creating these statements, and each statement is going to have to be customized for each employee. Right? Mm-hmm. If you list off, for a benefit that an employee is not yet eligible for. So say they're in their waiting period for their group benefits, but you're giving them a statement saying that their group benefits are worth X number of dollars. Well, guess what? They don't have them yet. That can really come across as a negative, right? Or if you accidentally double up on a benefit. So you don't want them to think that you're trying to make things look inflated to what the real compensation picture is. So if you tell them what their total salary is, so maybe you use the number off the T4 slip, and then you could turn around and list what their vacation pay is separately. Well, that's not going to be a true picture, because on the T4, guess what? The vacation pay is already in there, right? So you have to be very careful. So I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure that this statement is 100% correct. It has to be accurate, okay? The other danger I see is when you provide each employee a statement, that could encourage them to maybe have comparisons. Mm-hmm. Well, what's your total package compared to my total package? And then we have to keep in mind, just as a real easy example, is employees, when we start talking about group benefits, if I have family coverage and you have single coverage, guess what? I'm going to be receiving more because that family coverage is more expensive. Yeah. And in most cases, because it's usually a percentage, or it could be, hopefully it's 100% of health and dental. Mm-hmm. So that is going to make the numbers look different. Yeah. So when you're doing this, to me, communication is the key. It has to be well communicated and used in the proper manner, on a 100% accurate basis, to make the total compensation statement a useful tool.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. All right, Lorne, I know that this is something that every employer needs to be looking at. And if they're not sure how to create one, I know that you're available. So obviously we're going to, provide some contact information here. Are there other resources that you can offer the listener, besides just having a conversation with yourself? Is there somewhere they can go to find more information about this?
Definitely. Besides us, I had mentioned earlier at the start of the podcast, BBD, our partners there, that's Benefits by Design. They have a sample right online, which you can download. You just go to bbd.ca, and then there you'll see a resource tab. And under that resource tab, you'll see blog, and I believe it's in the news section. But if you look around in there, you're going to find a sample of the statement that you can work from. Of course, you can always give us a call and we'll help you out as well.
Yep, and we do want to give one more shout out to Mike McClanahan, and I hope I said that right, Mike, for providing such great information that this podcast is really based off of. Lorne, I know that you do a ton of research to make sure that you are on top of everything for the employers that you do work for, and that you do work with on all their benefits. But somebody's new to the podcast, somebody has been referred to this podcast and they're listening to this, they don't have your contact information. What is the best way to get a hold of you so they can start this conversation?
Well, you can pick the phone up and give us a call. Our toll-free number is 1-866-445-4424, or you can always find us online at curryfinancialgroup.com.
Fantastic. Lorne, any closing thoughts before I wrap up today?
Again, super excited to have a new granddaughter. I'm still having a hard time getting over the fact that I have a granddaughter. And just like to thank all the listeners for joining us. And again, Mike McClanahan for giving us that great blog to bring up this information from.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Mike. Thank you, of course, Lorne. Great information today and just such a fun podcast. And of course, congratulations from my family to yours. That is just what a blessing. And you're going to have so much fun spoiling that little girl. I can't wait for pictures, and you owe me pictures just, whenever you're ready.
All right.
Yeah. And our last thank you, of course, always goes to you, listening audience. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the Benefits of Knowledge podcast with Lorne Curry. If you have not subscribed to the podcast yet, please click the subscribe now button below. This way, when Lorne comes out with a new podcast, it'll show up directly on your listening device. This makes it much easier to share these podcasts with your colleagues. Again, thank you so much for listening today. For everyone at Curry Financial Group, this is Eric Johnson reminding you to live your best day every day. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to the Benefits of Knowledge podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available.